So theory of bending is exact for a case of pure bending. So what is pure bending? You take a beam, you apply a bending moment at both the ends. So you have applied movement at both the ends. So for this movement we called M naught. So this is the external movement. So what is the bending moment diagram for this case? So this is your bending moment diagram. So I have to show my coordinate system, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Now what is the bending moment at the right end? Gaurav Saini? Anyone else who will like to tell what is the bending moment at x is equal to L? The beam length is L. So this is position L. This is position 0. This is position x is equal to L. What is bending moment at position x is equal to L?
So 0.
You see there is an applied bending moment M naught. So that is the bending moment applied at the right hand. And there is a bending moment at the left hand. So movement applied at the left hand is M naught. You see that M naught is clockwise. And bending and movement applied at the right hand is counterclockwise. So you see, beam can be in equilibrium only when total movement is 0. Right side movement is counterclockwise, so it is positive. Left movement is clockwise, it is negative. As per our coordinate system, counterclockwise movement is positive. If your right hand screw rotates counterclockwise, it translates in Z direction. So that is a positive movement. Then I told you the definition of bending moment. You have to take the area normal. Area normal here is positive, and your static movement is also positive. Movement as per the static sign convention is positive. Two positives make a positive. Here applied movement is clockwise, so negative. Area normal is also negative. Two negatives make a positive. Again, your bending moment becomes positive. So there is something called bending moment, and there is something called actual movement applied. Okay, so the two are different. So this movement has sign convention of static sign convention of movements, while bending movement has coupled sign convention involving both area normal as well as static sign convention of the actual movement. What I find, a lot of people come casually at any time, so they are disturbing the class. So nobody should try to come after 10:10. I will note down these fellows who come late. Okay. Now you see, I have shown bending moment diagram. Take any cross section, you will find same bending moment. M not positive. You take a movement here, for example. You see, if you draw free body diagram of this part, external is this M naught, and this is the movement to be applied by the right part to the left part. There are some stresses on this face which cause this movement. which result into this movement. So this movement is coming from internal forces. And you see this movement has to be counterclockwise, because this movement is external movement is clockwise, externally applied movement. So to equilibrate this part of the beam, this has to be counterclockwise. You see again, this area normal is positive, movement is counterclockwise, so two positives make a positive bending moment. So at this point, you have a positive bending moment. Had you taken this right hand side free body diagram, then this movement is clockwise, external movement. Then this movement, which is caused by internal force, has to be clockwise, because this is counterclockwise to equilibrate this beam. Again, you see area normal is negative, this movement is negative, so two negatives make a positive bending moment. So you get a positive bending moment. Take any position anywhere, you get the same. So this is a case of pure bending. There is no vertically applied force on the beam. You see, there is no force like, there is no vertical force. Only you have applied external movement at the ends. So that is why it is called a case of pure bending. Any questions? If you calculate shear force at any cross section, it will be 0. So shear force is 0. For example, I take any cross section. There is the external movement here, M naught. So there cannot be any force on this face. So when you show a force V, I have shown the positive direction of the shear force. It is downwards negative and area normal is negative. So two negatives make a positive shear force. But you see there is no external force. So sigma Fy is equal to minus V is equal to 0 for equilibrium. So V is equal to 0. Only if internal force generated from the internal forces has to be a movement, which has to counter this counterclockwise movement, as explained earlier. Any questions, Kavalish?
No, sir.
Okay, so this much is all right. That whatever theory of bending we are developing, we are developing for a case of pure bending movement situation, pure bending situation. Now, what we do, we assume certain deformation. This is called an inverse way of solving problem. So assume a deformation. From the deformation, we will find stresses. So what deformation we assume? So you assume that this beam takes a curved shape. So you have applied a movement like this. So you will say that this cross section rotates like this. You are applying a movement on this face. Because of this movement, it will rotate like this. Similarly, you are applying a movement here on this vertical face. It will rotate like this because of this movement. Any problem with this? So you see what you are doing. So this is the way your beam will look because of this applied movement at the ends. will see that it looks like if we extend these faces, they will meet here somewhere. You see, if this is your center of curvature, this you assume is arc of a circle. So this is a smaller arc. This is a larger arc. So you can say there is a contraction here. There is a stretching here. Then you see here you are having a compressive strain, negative. Here you are having a tensile strain, positive. So in between there will be a layer where there will be a zero strain. So this layer is known as neutral surface. So this layer, fibers on this surface will not have any change in length. So they will retain their original length. You see, what was the original length of the fiber? You had a straight beam. Your beam was initially straight. The original length of the fiber was L. All fibers were of L length. Okay, all longitudinal fibers. They were of length L. So this fiber, which is on the neutral surface, will be of length L. You can say this radius of curvature of the neutral surface is R, or you can call it R neutral. So this becomes the radius of curvature of the neutral surface. And suppose your thickness of the beam is H. So what will be the radius of curvature of the upper surface? Rn minus h by 2. What will be the radius of curvature of the outer surface? Rn plus h by 2. Now you see, initially this fiber, this cross section was vertical. This was vertical. It rotates by some angle here. It rotates by some angle here. You call this angle theta by 2. This rotation. So what is this angle? Theta by 2. Theta by 2. So total angle subtended by the arc is theta at the center of curvature. Look at this picture carefully. See how this I have called theta by 2. Can you figure out why it is theta by 2?
Sir, alternate exterior angle.
So you see this is theta by 2. Yeah, you can see alternate angles. These are two parallel lines. So these are alternate angles. Similarly, this is also an alternate angle. So what is the length L? L length is Rn into theta. Any problem? Theta is the subtended angle. L is the arc length. So theta is in radians. So what is your top surface length? So that was Rn minus h by 2 into theta. That is the top surface length. So what is the contraction in the top surface? Initial length was Rn theta. Final length is Rn minus h by 2 theta. So you get h by 2 theta. So this is the contraction. Similarly, stretching of the lower surface, you will also get the same answer, h by 2 theta. Contraction, you can give a negative sign. So change in length becomes minus h by 2 theta. You take any position r, y. Suppose you are measuring y from the neutral surface. So you're measuring y from the neutral surface. Your y coordinate is upwards positive. So what is the radius of curvature of this surface? Rn minus y into theta it becomes its length. So what is the contraction? What is the change in length?
Y theta.
Okay. So what do you say change in length? Final length minus initial length? That's the way you will define change in length? What do you say? So final length is Rn minus y theta. Initial length was Rn theta. So what do you get? Minus y theta. So what is your strain? Strain is change in length upon original length. So minus y theta, but divided by Rn theta. So you get minus y by Rn. So this is your strain at position y. Now we will show the cross section. I'll just simply show the cross section. So this was my initial point. Where was a neutral point? You can call it a neutral point. I'll explain you the neutral point also. So fiber change in length of the fiber, strain is 0 here. And what we found was strain was here minus h by 2. And what was the strain here? These fellows keep coming late. I have to do something about them. So what is the stress here? Stress is sigma E epsilon. So you get minus E h by 2r. What is the stress here? E h by 2r. At position y, I calculated my strain as minus y by Rn. So my stress becomes, I will call this stress as sigma xx. I will explain you later on. So you see stress is compressive in the upper half, tensile in the lower half. So this is the stress. So what will be the force? I call force as dfx. Now force is stress into area. What is the area of this element? This element is of length dy. Assume unit depth. Unit depth of beam. Look, I had taken the beam like a rectangle. But you see it has a depth. This is a depth. You can call this depth as b instead of unit. So So what will become our area? Sigma xx into b dy. Any doubts? So this area, if you look at this will be like this. This is your dy, this is your b. You are assuming same amount of stress over the entire depth. So your force becomes dfx is equal to sigma xx b dy. Now you have to see the sign of the force. So this is the compressive force, you see. So sign is mine. Now let's put the value. Sigma xx is minus E y by Rn b dy. Now you see y is positive in the upper half. R is anyway is a positive quantity. It's a curvature of the beam. So we have to check it out about its being positive or negative also. That I will do it shortly. So stress is compressive. So you see compressive stress will look like what? This is where you will show a compressive stress. You see area normal is positive here. You have taken this cross section for example. Area normal is positive. This area normal is positive. This is a positive x-axis. So your compressive stress means force has to be negative. And here your stress is tensile. So this part is tensile, this part is compressive. So what is the force here? Force is negative. As it's being seen. Here we are getting force. So stress being negative, so force is also coming negative because area normal is positive. Any problem with this? So this force becomes I, negative I. And what is the position? Now you can assume this force is acting at the centroid of this strip. So in that case, this entire force you have assumed as acting at the centroid, and this is the equivalent force acting at the centroid of this strip. So what is the position here of this centroid? You can say position vector of this centroid is, so x coordinate takes as 0, y coordinate is y, and what is your z coordinate? Again that you can take at 0. Suppose this is a coordinate system. So at this cross section, x is 0 everywhere, z is 0 in the middle of the strip, and you are having same y for the entire strip. So 0, y, 0. So what is the movement caused by the force on this strip? What is the movement caused by the force on this strip? So movement you know is r cross df. So r is yj cross minus eyb by rn dy I. So what do you get? EB y square by Rn. J cross I is minus k. There is already a minus, so you get k. So movement here is in positive k direction. You see, you took a movement like this, m naught. If you take any other cross section like this, we are taking a cross section with having normal vector in positive x direction. So movement here you will see is counterclockwise. So it is okay. Internal forces here are resulting in a counterclockwise movement on this face having normal vector in positive x direction. Now you have to find the movement over the entire face. You see stresses are varying over the entire face. Compressive here, tensile here. Expression is given by this. Now you have to integrate to get the overall stress. So these stresses you are calculating about this origin of the coordinate system you have chosen, which is also coinciding with the neutral axis. I'll explain you this neutral axis to you. So you take the moment integral. Can you recognize this term by square dy? You see E is a constant here. R neutral is also a constant. It is the same for the cross section. It doesn't change. Integral y square b dy. B dy is nothing but dA. So what is y square dA? Anybody?
Sir, area moment of inertia.
Yeah. So this is what moment of inertia it is.
Sir, area.
Can you call it IZZ? What is y square? Y is the distance from the z axis. Here y is the distance from the z axis. So this is IZZ. Okay. Y is the distance of this strip from z axis. So we'll get to its details again. So what you get, m naught is equal to this movement m is equal to EI R neutral. Now you see this is movement is resulting from these stresses, and there is an external movement here m naught. So these stresses are creating a movement called m, which you can call a resultant movement. Because of the stresses. So these movements are countering this external movement. You see this external movement is clockwise. So minus m naught, and this movement that you have calculated is counterclockwise. Plus EIZZ by Rn. This has to be equal to 0 for the beam to equilibrate. Now you see what you get from this. EI upon Rn is equal to m naught, implies what is your Rn? 1 by Rn is equal to m naught by EI. So you get the value of the radius of curvature of the neutral surface. Now if you look at the expression we have calculated for stress, what was our stress expression? Minus Ey by Rn. So stress expression was minus Ey by Rn. So what is our 1 by Rn? 1 by Rn was m naught by Ei. So you get what is the expression for stress? E cancels out. While in the strain you will find there is an E. What is your epsilon xx? Minus y by Rn. So that becomes minus m naught y by Ei. So you get your strain and stresses. So you see, you assume some deformation, and from that assumed deformation, you found the strain, and then you found the stresses. Stresses you found by using equations of equilibrium. You see, we did movement equilibrium, but we did not do force equilibrium. Doing force equilibrium is equally important. So what is the meaning of force equilibrium? You see, I had taken only this part of the cross section. This was my external movement, and here there were stresses. And I said this is a compressive stress, this is a tensile stress, and this was my coordinate system. So these, you see, these stresses, these are forces. This is a force in negative x direction. This is a force in positive x direction. There is no external force applied on this part. You see, there is a movement. The net force sigma fy, sigma fx has to be 0. Whatever is the forces, compressive forces and tensile forces, they have to cancel each other out. Otherwise, if there was some net force due to this stress distribution, the body will start accelerating in x direction. These forces are in x direction. Externally, there is no force applied in x direction. So some resultant of these forces has to be 0. And I had told you what was dfx. I had calculated dfx for you. Minus Ey by r. Then I had multiplied by the area. So that was the force at distance y. At distance y, at element of length dy, there was this force. Now if you want the force on the entire cross section, you have to integrate. You have to integrate from minus h by 2 to plus h by 2. So you're integrating over only the cross section. You have taken a cross sectional plane and you want to find these forces are on this cross sectional plane. So you want to find the sum of these forces, resultant force. So you have to integrate. All these forces are in x direction, so you can directly integrate, add it up. Now you see minus E by Rn, that's a constant. You take it out. So what is left is y dA. This you are integrating over the cross section. What is the meaning of y dA? Anybody? How can this be 0? Now you see, the total force has to be 0. You are given that this is 0. So it means your centroid lies on the origin. Of your coordinate system. You see, we assume that neutral surface has y is equal to 0. So this surface we had taken as y is equal to 0. And we were finding, we were assuming our origin of the coordinate system at this neutral surface. And we were measuring y from this surface. And this upper surface was having y is equal to h by 2, lower surface was having minus h by 2. That's the way. So this y has to be centroid. Only then you can get a 0. So we come to know centroid and neutral point coincide. Centroid of cross section coincides with the neutral point. This point, neutral point, is called neutral axis. I will explain you. So you invoke equations of equilibrium. Force balance gives you position of neutral axis. You come to know that neutral axis coincides with centroid of the cross section. You see, it is very easy to find centroid of the cross section. Centroid of this rectangle will lie. Where will it lie? At its middle point. You take middle of both draw the line through the midpoints of both the sides, and this becomes your neutral point. So neutral axis of this cross section will be passing through the centroid of this cross section. So that is the output of this force balance. Then movement balance. What did movement balance give you? Radius of curvature of neutral surface. So it told you how much is the deformation. You see, what was your 1 by r? Your 1 by r was equal to m by ei. This was your radius of the neutral surface. Larger the movement, what will be the radius of the neutral surface? What is the radius of the flat surface? What is the radius of curvature of the flat surface, gentlemen? Infinity. Smaller the radius, it means there is greater bending. You are bending it, you bend it more, you will have a smaller radius of curvature. So you increase your m naught, your radius of curvature will reduce. Similarly, you see your ei. Larger the E, larger the I, stiffer the beam. So this reflects the stiffness of the beam. And you will have a larger radius of curvature. It means there will be less bending of the beam. Beam is less affected if it stays nearly straight. If this bends like this becomes like nearly useless for supporting a load. You don't want to have too much bending. Okay, too much deformation means your structure is not good. Any questions, any doubts? Somehow this is a 1 hour class, so I'm not doing very good justice to the topic. But now I'll explain you, since I have given you all the basics of it, what has happened. Now we'll see physically what has happened. We applied movements. We took a coordinate system. This is the way we can take a coordinate system. This is a beam. So this has a rectangular cross section. This beam has a rectangular cross section. So this is a symmetrical cross section. This is a doubly symmetric cross section. You will come to know what is doubly symmetric, singly symmetric. So it has two planes of symmetry. This is one plane of symmetry. This is another plane of symmetry. Now you have applied external movements. Because of this, this actual plane, let me draw it separately. Now I am drawing the front view of the beam. This plane rotates. Similarly, this plane rotates. So what is the assumptions of theory of bending? I'll tell you what are the assumptions of theory of bending. Cross-sectional planes remain plane. That is, there is no warping. Something what you had seen in the case of torsion. You see, these planes remain plane. They will remain flat. They will not wrinkle. Okay? Any problem with this? Number 2. Cross-sectional planes, or you can call transverse planes, suffer a rigid rotation. About neutral axis. And what is your neutral axis here? Z axis. You see this plane is rotating about this axis. This axis. This is a Z axis. This entire plane rotates about this axis. Kavalish, can you see this?
Yes, sir.
So this axis doesn't move. Axis means there is no movement on the axis. You take the door hinge. Hinge is the axis. So your door is moving about the axis. Axis doesn't move. So this point, this line will not move. And this line is called neutral axis. You see, axis is a line. Neutral surface is the locus of these axes. If you take all the axes of the neutral axis of the beam, every cross section is having a neutral axis. If you club all the neutral axis, it will become a neutral surface. So you see, surface is made of infinite number of lines. Axis is only one line. Is it okay? Usually students confuse between axis and surface. So every cross section has an axis. So this is a neutral axis. And you see, neutral axis is parallel to Z axis. So this part of the cross section will become like this. And this part of the cross section, it will be here. So you see, this is the way your cross section will look like. It is going to suffer a rigid rotation. This is a rigid rotation of the cross section. You understand rigid rotation? Just I did in torsion. I said rigid rotation of the cross-sectional plane about the longitudinal axis. There they were rotating about that longitudinal axis. Now they are not rotating about the longitudinal axis. They are rotating about the transverse axis. You see, this is the longitudinal axis of the beam. And this is the transverse axis, transverse direction. These are the transverse fibers. These are the longitudinal fibers. So this is the longitudinal direction, longitudinal axis of the beam. And this is the transverse. So this is a neutral axis about which it rotates. And it is a rigid rotation. Just like there in torsion, it was about the body axis, longitudinal axis. Your cross-sectional plane was rotating. Here it is rotating about the neutral axis. Now the whole beauty is every plane has a different rotation. You see, this plane has a rotation counterclockwise. And if you look at this plane, so this plane will have a rotation clockwise. So it has turned clockwise, you see. Can you see it, Kavalish? So different planes suffer different rotation. And this is a clockwise rotation. This is a counterclockwise rotation. And you will find that somewhere in the middle of the beam, this plane suffers zero rotation. So because of this, there is a strain. If the entire thing had suffered same amount of rotation, suppose this was your beam, and it was hinged here, entire thing rotates. Now it is a rigid rotation. Entire thing is suffering a rigid rotation. The bar which was like this becomes like this. All these planes are having same amount of rotation. So you won't call it bending. This is a simple rigid rotation of the entire beam. But now here what is happening? Different cross sections are rotating different amount. You see this fellow in the middle doesn't rotate at all. This turns maximum, this turns maximum in the opposite direction. So this is a clockwise rotation, negative, positive. So you have to go, there is a continuous change in rotation angle. Negative to 0, 0 to positive. Any problem? One more thing you can do about it. You can draw a tangent to this neutral surface. So what is this angle? You saw you did a counterclockwise rotation. This angle is also counterclockwise. What is the slope? Positive slope. You see this neutral surface is having a positive slope. Here your surface is having a tangent is, you see what is the angle made by the tangent? Clockwise. Here what is the angle made by the tangent? Counterclockwise. So you're having a negative slope here. Now can you see that these two angles are same? If this cross-sectional plane stays perpendicular to centroidal surface, you see, if this angle is 90 degrees, so this angle is, this entire angle is 90 degree. So this angle is an intermediate angle. This is an intermediate angle. You add theta to it, you get 90 degrees. And also if you add theta to it, you get 90 degrees. Angle between x and y axis. You see, initially your cross-sectional plane was, your beam was like this. This was your cross-sectional plane. This was your centroidal surface. So this was my x direction, this was my y direction. So this angle is 90 degrees. After deformation also, you see, after deformation, your x-axis has moved like this, your y-axis has moved like this. So again, they maintain their 90-degree angle. So that is why you say gamma xy is 0. Shear strain is 0. Cavendish, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So rotation you can find by simple dy by dx. Dy by dx of the centroidal surface gives you the amount of rotation suffered by a cross section. So we will carry on with it. I think time is up. So we'll carry on with it in the next class. So we'll have 2 hours there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like we are having a lab test on 11th.
We'll talk about it. Actually, we'll talk about it in the next class. Before that, I would like you to give a presentation, Kavalish. Look, I have uploaded lot of videos, etc. on the lab classroom. You go through them. You can make a team of 3-4 students.
Sir, like, but our lab is handled by another teacher, so
No problem. No problem. I'll get in touch with him, but I would like to give a test to the entire class. Okay. So I want to see how you guys have picked it up. And I have given the in the Google Classroom uh, all the details of what I want you to learn about ASTM standards, all that. So I will share with you on this classroom also the link of that Google Classroom of those lab classes. Okay. So I will like 3-4 students to go through it, make a presentation. We can hold a presentation of you guys on one day, and then we can conduct a quiz. Okay. So for the time being, now I am closing it. So on Thursday, we'll
Everyone
talk
has
about
to
it.
make a group of 3-4.
Yeah.
So everyone has to do a presentation.
No, I will talk about it on Thursday. I will like 3-4 fellows only to make a presentation. Others have to listen. Okay. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay.